Hello everyone. Thank you for watching our presentation on gamifying the path to corpus-based pedagogical dictionaries. I am Tanara Zingano Kuhn. I am Brazilian, but I live in Portugal and I work at the University of Coimbra. My co-authors are Rina from Israel, Špela from Slovenia, Branislava from Serbia, Carole from the Netherlands, Anna, my colleague from Portugal, Kristina from Estonia, Danka from Serbia, and Iztok from Slovenia. As you can see, there are 9 of us representing 6 different countries and 5 different languages. I'm going to give you a bit of a context. This project originated in the INET-Collect cost action. INET-Collect stands for European Network for Combining Language Learning with Crowdsourcing Techniques. We are all members of this action. And in a working group workshop that we had some years ago, I shared this desire, this personal desire I have, which is to create a scale for Portuguese. SCAL stands for Sketch Engine for Language Learning, and there are already 6 SCALs for 6 different languages, but not for Portuguese. And the most challenging part of it is, for Portuguese, is the creation of the corpus, because we need a very large corpus that is adequate for autonomous language learning. That means it must be free of offensive language and sensitive content. The traditional way to guarantee that a corpus has these characteristics is to use a blacklist and then to exclude the texts where those words appear. What we know is that words are polysemous, and blacklists are based on word forms only, not senses. So this is a big disadvantage because we might get rid of important texts that show important language patterns that are very relevant for students, and because that particular word form is in that text, it is automatically deleted from the corpus. Another alternative is to manually clean the corpus, but we all know that this is extremely time-consuming and consequently expensive. So what I thought was, well, maybe why not using crowdsourcing for filtering out offensive sentences from web corpora? Why not get help from the crowd? And I shared this idea in this workshop and later on at another event of this cost action, the CrowdFest. And my colleagues got interested and joined me in this project. And as they joined me, we expanded our goals and our purposes. So also, in addition to the creation of pedagogical corpus of Portuguese, we also want to create corpora of Dutch, Serbian, Slovene, and Estonian. And we also want to have other purposes. So in addition to creating scales for these languages, we can create learners' dictionaries and language learning materials and other materials related to pedagogical corpora. So the crowdsourcing techniques that are known are usually the ones that use crowdsourcing platforms such as Amazon Mechanical Turk or Crowdflower or Pybosa, and then the crowd contributes voluntarily, or they are paid for that. Also, another alternative that is quite common and well known is games with a purpose. Well, it's common for many other data cleaning or data organization, but not actually for lexicographical purposes. We have these ones that have been already published: Jeux de mots, Phrase Detectives, Wardrobe, Zombie Lingo, and Game of Words by my colleagues Špela and Iztok, who I'm very lucky to have them on board on this present project. Okay, so what we did is we started using crowdsourcing platforms. We did an experiment 2 years ago, crowdsourcing corpus filtering. We presented the results at the last edition of eLex in Sintra and also at Eurocall 2019. And what we did was this. We automatically extracted sentences from web corpora of 4 different languages, so Dutch, Serbian, Slovene, and Portuguese. And the crowd was asked to select the sentences that they considered to be offensive. The results indicated that a more straightforward, exact task for the crowd should be formulated, and that additional elements should be added to increase user involvement. The good news is that the crowd was really willing to help, so this is great. So we analyzed these results and we came with the idea that we should try a different approach, the games with a purpose approach. And we decided to create a digital web-based and mobile devices game. Okay, but how does one create a game for lexicographical purposes? The idea is very nice, it's very innovative, but it's difficult and it takes a long time and a lot of planning and thinking. So what we want to do in this presentation is actually to share with you some of the challenges we faced, some of the solutions found and lessons learned, in order to provide a stepping stone to other colleagues willing to adopt this method in their lexicographical projects. As I told you, there haven't been many crowdsourcing projects for lexicographical purposes. So we believe that it's always helpful to learn from the experience of other people. And this is what we are going to do today, actually. We're going to share with you what we've done so far. I have to say that we don't have answers for everything already, but what we want to show you here is the whole process of decision making and what we need to have in mind when we are creating a game. So the foundation of everything. We first thought of these 3 questions. So what do we want from the crowd? What kind of information do we want to be able to retrieve from the crowd's answers? And what do we want to do with those answers? And we, after a lot of discussion and many meetings, we concluded that we wanted the crowd to identify problematic sentences, which is something that we had done also with our Paibosa experiment, but also we wanted them to categorize problematic sentences. The kind of information that we want from them is, we want to know that sentence X is considered to be problematic, sentence Y is not considered to be problematic, and we want to know what type of problems or problem there are in that particular sentence that they consider to be problematic. And what do we want to do with those answers? We want the sentences that are not considered to be problematic can be used straight away for creation of corpora for scale. The sentences that are considered to be problematic will be used for the creation of a machine learning algorithm. And particularly in relation to this machine learning algorithm, we want to use the sentences as a data set to first train a binary machine learning model that will be able to automatically classify sentences as appropriate or inappropriate. And then we want to train a multi-class classifier that would be able to perform fine-grained annotation of inappropriate sentences according to the reason of their inappropriateness. How does one create a game? Okay, so then we concluded that we want to create a multi-modes game. We want participants to inform which sentences they consider to be inappropriate to language learning purposes, and also participants provide the reason for such a choice. And for this, players have to indicate in which category or categories the selected example fits, ranging from sensitive related content to structural problems. We then created a project plan. So we organized the project in 3 stages. data preparation, game preparation, and preparation of machine learning. And each stage has tasks and expected output. The first stage, we need to define how to create the data sets for the game. And our expected output are actually two, one of good example candidates and another one with bad example candidates. Then for the game preparation stage, we need to define the composition of the database and to design the game. After the players play the game, the expected output is a database containing sentences marked as good and sentences marked as bad, with tags for what is bad in each sentence. And to prepare the machine learning, the task is to train a machine learning model, and the output is then machine learning models for different languages. So for data preparation, to define how to create data sets, we decided that we are going to use GoodX and blacklists. I'm going to show you here, since you are watching this, you can stop and read. I'm just going to go past the slides. But we decided that we need to do these other tasks. So once you have the main task, but then you have, when you make a decision, there are other subtasks that need to be done. So in our case here, we need to develop pedagogically driven GoodX configurations for each language based on a common ground of what pedagogical entails. For that, we need all this. We also need to GoodX our corpora with these configurations, and for that we need decision on which corpora we're going to use, the GoodX. We need to see who's going to filter the corpora with blacklists. We need to define the blacklists. We need to deduplicate similar sentences, and so on. You later on have a look, please. For the game preparation, we need to define the composition of the database and to design the game. The two of them go together, in fact. So we need to define the main structure of the game. What's the story? What's the main purpose? Do they run against time? Do they compete with each other? And are we having different games, modules? And yes, we are. We also need to define how categorization happens. Do they type the tags? Do they choose from pre-existing tags? A mix of both. We decided that they're going to choose. And how are we going to define the categories? So Špela did a study, Brani did a study as well, and we found out that the categories should be related to content, comprehensibility, and structure. Are they all the same for all languages? Are we going to run a pilot? And to design the game, we also need to create the gamer interface, and we need to have all this important information. We also need to create the researcher interface, and we need to decide on game specifications. And this particular part is something that we're still working on. We finally need to train a machine learning model. We need a data set for that and definition of the data set size. Our specialists here are Brani and Danka, and they said that it doesn't have to be crowdsourced by a large crowd because the active learning approach can be used. But we need to decide what is the minimum size to start the training. So the concluding remarks or lessons learned so far. It's important to have a clear idea of what your goal with the game is. You need to spend time planning ahead. You need to make the right questions. You need to do research and practical work to find the answers for those questions. You need to prepare to changes. You need to pilot your game, and you need to have an enthusiastic and collaborative team. I mean, this is ideal. I'm quite lucky because I do have it. And this is the team. You can see there Rina and Branislava and Peter Zeka, who is no longer with us. He's now doing his PhD. And also Špela and Anna and Kristina and Iztok, Carole, Danka, and Tanaka, who unexpectedly passed away last year. And she was part of our team, and she is sorely missed. Thank you very much.